All right. It looks like it's about 11 a.m. So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. This is part of the Hiring Hacks webinar series that we do over at HackerRank. My name is Tom, and I am on the marketing team here at HackerRank. And today we're going to be talking with GREE about how they're using both Jobvite and HackerRank to maximize their tech recruiting. So first things first, if you're not familiar with our Hiring Hacks webinar series, each webinar basically focuses on one particular strategy or tactic that is significantly and measurably helping one of our customers improve how they do tech recruiting and really maximize their tech recruiting time and process. Today, as I mentioned, it's going to be our friends at GREE. They're going to be talking about how they're leveraging Jobvite and HackerRank together. If you're not familiar, Jobvite and HackerRank do actually have integrations, so they work together, and that's why we decided to do this as a joint webinar. At the end of the actual webinar, we will open things up for Q&A. The way that you'll do that is if you look at the GoToWebinar panel, there is a question section. If at any point you have a question, please feel free to type it in there, and then we will answer them at the end during our QA section. In addition to that, we are recording this webinar, and we will definitely send out a recording link after the webinar concludes. So what we want to do to kick this off, we've actually got two quick introduction slides on HackerRank and two quick introduction slides on Jobvite. The reason we do this, obviously, is because our friends at GREE are going to be talking pretty in depth about both of these tools. So for anyone not familiar with one or the other or both, this is really just so you have some context about what Jobvite and HackerRank do, so that when our speakers are talking, you have the appropriate context. So on the HackerRank side, HackerRank is a platform that's built on code challenges. And if you're not familiar with what a code challenge is where an employer posts a specific programming problem online, and then a candidate or developer comes and attempts to solve that programming challenge with their own code. They can pick whatever language they want, depending on the options that you have allowed them to select from. They type in their solution online via a built-in web-based compiler, and then they can actually solve this coding challenge. Once they've got a submission that they're happy with, HackerRank will actually automatically evaluate this code. It'll basically check their code's output against hidden outputs that we've pre-selected to see if their code functioned properly. We'll also test it for efficiency and make sure that it runs in the time that you feel is appropriate, so make sure the code is both accurate and efficient. And we also have a built-in plagiarism detector to make sure they didn't just copy and paste it off the web or from a former challenge somewhere. After one or a number of candidates have taken this code challenge, these candidates are actually categorized and ranked according to their performance. So as a tech recruiter, it's really easy for you to look at 10 or 20 or 30 candidates' performance on these code challenges and figure out who you feel like would be the best fit for this role, for your organization, who you want to continue to move through your technical recruiting process. So that's a little bit on the code challenge, and the code challenge is really what the HackerRank platform is built on. But we're more than code challenges. HackerRank actually supports you through the entire tech recruiting process, and there are kind of four key stages in tech recruiting. There's sourcing, screening, interviewing, and hiring. On the sourcing and screening side, we also have what are called code sprints. That's where we take a number of pre-selected code challenges and we open that up at the same time to the same group of programmers. And so basically you have thousands of programmers all taking the same code challenges during the same time period. It's basically like a hackathon for programming. And then once that event is over, you get a stacked ranked list of candidates that's auto-scored so you can see who the top performers in that competition were. It's a really great way to source your funnel with a tremendous amount of fully qualified pre-screened candidates. We also allow you to post code challenges publicly on your career pages. You embed them directly in line with your open technical positions, so candidates, passive candidates who come to your website can complete the code challenge, and then you, the tech recruiter, will get a score automatically emailed to you, and that saves you a lot of time having to like sift through resumes that have been submitted and things like that. It gives you a much crisper view of the people who are interested in the positions posted on your website. On the screening and interview side, we also have what we call our code screens. The code screen is basically 4 or 5 code challenges lumped together in one test that you would send to a candidate who's passed some of your initial tests. And this is much more common in the screening and interviewing process, where they've passed kind of like an elementary or introductory test on the website, and you want to make sure that they really do have the skills necessary for this particular role before you bring them on site for live interviews. And then for interviews, which can't be done on site, we also have our code pair feature. This is a pair programming tool. It combines a live video interview that takes place online with live code challenges. So a hiring manager or an interviewee can actually interact directly with the candidate while they solve these code challenges. And that gives you kind of like a complete 360-degree view of the candidate's skill and also their demeanor. So that's HackerRank in a nutshell, so you have some context while our speakers speak today. And now I'm going to pass things on to my friend at Jobvite, Claire, and she's going to talk a little bit more about Jobvite.
Yes, thanks, Tom. So as you can see, Jobvite is the complete social recruiting platform. We offer a host of different recruiting solutions to help you at every step of the way in the recruiting process. From strengthening your employment branding with Jobvite brand, leveraging your current employees and getting those really great employer referrals through Jobvite Hire, filling your talent pool with Jobvite Engage, and qualifying them with our on-demand video interviewing tool, and obviously also our amazing integrations with people like HackerRank. And then finally, tracking all of your applicants and candidates through the hiring process with Jobvite Hire. And on the next slide, we'll just give you a little more information about those offerings. And I won't read all of these bullet points for you, but you can just skim over them really quickly and just give you a little more information about exactly how Jobvite helps you through each step of the funnel. And of course, there should be a note along with the sourcing and the qualifying and the hiring of our HackerRank integration, which you'll get to hear more about in a few minutes. And with that, I want to quickly move on to introduce our presenters today. Michael and Trevor are joining us from GREE, which is a longtime Jobvite customer and HackerRank customer. Michael is the Senior Director of Engineering at GREE, and Trevor is the Lead Technical Recruiter. With that, I'll pass it over to Trevor.
Thank you, Claire. This is Trevor Morgan with GREE International. I'm going to kick things off with just a brief overview of GREE before jumping into our initial Jobvite adoption. So GREE International, the division leading GREE's charge into the Western market, was formed in 2011 and rapidly achieved international success with revenue growth of 350% and a cumulative lifetime revenue quickly approaching $500 million. GREE International is a world leader in the hugely popular role-playing and strategy game genres, and its highly successful titles, including Modern War, Crime City, and War of Nations, have been downloaded over 130 million times. In addition to developing its own high-quality mobile games in San Francisco and Vancouver, GREE International developed in collaboration with Iugo the worldwide hit Knights and Dragons. Knights and Dragons earned over $80 million in worldwide revenue in its first 2 years, making it one of the most profitable co-development relationships in the mobile games industry. GREE International is currently expanding its operating reach to Europe, Russia, Turkey, and Latin America, and remains focused on creative, innovative, and enduring next-gen mobile games. That expansion includes a focus on creating long-term profitable relationships with key distribution and development partners, which may include merger and acquisition and publishing opportunities in all Western markets. So that's just kind of a quick overview of GREE International. And then as you can see on this slide, GREE is looking to bring new games into the market quickly. That requires an always growing engineering team and a thorough, adaptable, and flexible tech recruiting system. So next I'm going to jump into our kind of initial adoption of Jobvite. So when GREE first adopted Jobvite as a recruiting platform, there were some pretty ambitious hiring goals at the time and not a great system or process in place. It was a mix of emails, spreadsheets, and pretty much everything in between, and the team needed a solution that would let them improve the process and workflow while also allow them to grow at scale in a short time frame. After adopting Jobvite, the team was able to hit their hiring goals within a 5-month period, and were also able to increase employee referrals through the Jobvite publisher by close to 30% overall. In regards to visibility, the Jobvite platform analytics gave our management great insight into key recruiting metrics such as time to hire, top candidate channels, and many other KPIs. And so if we fast forward to today, there's still a lot of challenges for a lead recruiting team when looking to hire across a high volume of requisitions, especially when the bar for talent is quite high. You want to make sure that you stay on top of all candidates in the tech funnel, ensure that all applicants have a positive overall interview experience, and also drive all areas of the process across your roles in a timely manner. So now Michael will explain how we were able to address these challenges utilizing both Jobvite and HackerRank.
Hi everyone, I'm Michael. So engineering at GREE has gotten a little bit more involved in the hiring process than many other companies might. And specifically, one interesting thing to share is for a while we've gone through periods where we only had one technical recruiter. Trevor was kind of our only guy manning the fort for a little while. And we had some problems with just managing our candidate pipeline. We had lots of great people coming in from all the different sources. Everything was really nicely tracked in Jobvite, but just staying on top of who needed to be contacted next, or who's waiting for scheduling, who sent us their availability, who did we ask for availability but never actually responded back. That was a bit of a challenge. So we discovered that Jobvite had an API, and we set out to build some solutions on top of it to help us take that to the next level. So a cool thing that we did was we built our own automation system that's tailored to our needs. And the basic principles of this is it has a nice dashboard. It lists all the candidates who are on track and not needing any particular action, but right up at the top it'll say, here's the candidates that you need to focus on today. They either are waiting for a phone screen or we haven't responded back to their availability. It'll send us daily email alerts with candidates that need our attention. And it does a bunch of things with automatic status transitions in Jobvite. And so this is a really cool thing that allows a central place for all recruiting and hiring managers to see candidate progress. They can also still directly go into Jobvite. We still use that as the source of truth. But this has really helped us find when candidates fall through the cracks. So here is just a brief, slightly manufactured screenshot of our system, just so everyone gets context of what we're talking about. So we can either view things by all the requisitions that a particular hiring manager or recruiter is on, or you can drill down to specific recs. And so again, all of this data is actually still stored in Jobvite. That's our source of truth. But this allows us to filter through it, take action on it. And you can see in this one, we've got 2 candidates that are flagged as needing action. Been almost a week since they were last contacted. This is a signal for the hiring manager or the recruiter to be able to jump on that. And then we have a bunch of other things down there. It shows who's on track, who's new. We've got some color coding, all sorts of cool things. And this is all done by using Jobvite's API. All right, so our next set of challenges was once we got this automation in, that really helped out recruiting, and it made it possible for them to process candidates very quickly. Our next set of challenges was the failure rate for candidates coming on site. So our former process was pretty standard. We would have inbound candidates would talk with the recruiter, and then they'd usually have a quick screening phone call with a hiring manager, and then we would bring them on site. Sometimes we do a remote code test, but this was fairly time-consuming. It took about 2 hours, and we'd have to synchronize schedules with people. And so our challenge was we had a lot of people getting it on site who we ended up not giving offers to. And it was draining a lot of engineering time and honestly a bit of morale too. People were like, can't we do something better with screening? So we kicked off a project to see, is there something better in the market that can help us qualify candidates better? So we evaluated 7 different solutions. We built this nice matrix showing the pros and cons of features and everything. And HackerRank quickly stood out to us as the best option and something that we decided to do a pilot with. And some of the things that attracted us to HackerRank was, first, it allows for automated and unattended code challenges. So this means that when we have a candidate, instead of having to have them set up a time with our engineers on site, we can just send them the code test, and they can do it in the evening, they can do it on the weekend, whenever it's convenient for them. We really liked that it has the automated grading and the ability to measure code quality built in, and also that we could do custom questions and really personalize it. One of our big concerns going in was what's going to stop people from just Googling the answers. This is actually a problem in several competitors that have been around for a while. Is you can look on the web and there's answers to everything. HackerRank seems to have done a pretty good job keeping their publicly available roster of questions harder to find on the internet. Of course, it's not impossible. No system can guarantee that. But for us, we're able to go in and add custom questions just for us, which basically guarantees no one can find them on the web. So we started using HackerRank to speed up the code test administration. We use the HackerRank and Jobvite integration. So that actually makes it super easy. When a hiring manager says, yeah, let's move forward with this guy, all we have to do is change the status in Jobvite, just one click, and it will automatically send the appropriate code challenge for that requisition. And then HackerRank also has an API. We're big fans of APIs around here. So we tied that into that dashboard you saw earlier, and that does some additional automation. Test results over or under a certain threshold can automatically advance or fail a candidate, can send emails, or do all sorts of other cool things. All right, so we decided to test this out on our intern program. Part of adopting this, some of the hiring managers were a little concerned. Is this really going to save us time? Is it worth the cost? Do we trust an automated system versus a real person talking to the candidate? So our objective was we wanted to hire 8 interns for this summer and minimize screening time. The last time we tried to hire interns, it ended up being a huge drain on recruiting's time. And while we do love our interns, they're significantly lower priority than full-time hires. And so we wanted something that would minimize the amount of time recruiting had to spend. So we had 450 applicants come in over about 3 weeks for our internship program. And so we decided, step one, we're going to send all 450 of them a code challenge, even before they talk to a phone screen. So we just sent them a nice little message. Hi, thank you for applying. This is a chance for you to demonstrate your abilities and show us what you've got. And then we really just took the top 10% of those and moved them onto the phone screen stage. An interesting data point was only half of people who applied actually took the HackerRank challenge. We view that as a very good thing because that helped us immediately filter out who's really interested and who's just kind of applying to every internship that they find on the web. We've run into that before. And the results have been extremely encouraging. So as we said, we took those top 10%, we took them to phone screenings. We actually used HackerRank's code pair solution to be able to also do some technical questions there. Some of them dropped out of the phone screen stage, but basically every candidate who made it on site ended up receiving an offer. And so this was a huge savings in time for us. We ran some calculations. We figure we saved probably 500 man-hours compared to our previous interview process to hire these 8 candidates. And a significant bulk of that was engineering time, which is, of course, expensive and drains from other priorities. So our engineers have been able to build more features and spend less time interviewing, and they've really loved this process. We got universal feedback that they love the quality of the candidates we got after applying this HackerRank filter. All right, so then just a couple more notes on HackerRank and some challenges and things that we learned through the integration process. I'd say probably the biggest one was just effective test creation. So HackerRank's library has a great roster of questions that you can use out of the box, and we actually did that for the intern program. We didn't create any custom questions for that evaluation. And then we've started creating custom questions since for our full-time requisitions. We discovered there is a bit of an art to test creation. So what we do is we have a separate code challenge for each role that we have, and that allows us to do a couple of things. For Android candidates, for example, we want to make sure, can they program in Java? And so we'll restrict the set of languages they can program in to Java or a couple of close derivatives. Somebody submitting a Java test written in JavaScript, for example, is usually not nearly as useful. And so we'll separate those out by specific roles. We'll mix and match questions. And then a very key thing for us is whenever we create a new test, we always have it vetted by at least 2 in-house engineers before we use it on candidates. So they have the same time limit, the exact same environments. And that's been really useful because, first, it builds confidence that it's actually a good test. So if we have one of our elite senior engineers take the test and he just comes nowhere close to finishing it, that was a good signal for us that, you know what, maybe this is too hard, let's dial back some of the difficulty, or let's shorten some of the questions. You know, vice versa, sometimes our custom questions, we actually had bugs in it. Or maybe it worked as intended, but we realized that it wasn't actually testing the skills that we wanted. You know, somebody was spending too much time on input-output versus the hard algorithm. So doing this in-house vetting has really helped us build confidence in those test results over time, and it's really been a good thing for us. All right, and then one other just success story, also using HackerRank's APIs. So HackerRank has a built-in function where you can say anything above a certain score advances to the next step, and anything below a certain score fails. And that's a great solution, but we wanted to do a little bit more. And specifically during that confidence building phase, for the first couple of candidates who take the test, there was still a little bit of uncertainty. It's like, do we have this test really calibrated the way we want it? And I wanted our hiring managers to be very involved assessing that on the technical side. So we used HackerRank's APIs and Jobvite's APIs to create an intermediate phase where we can set up custom thresholds. We can say, if it's above threshold 1, advance it, and if it's below threshold 2, reject it. But anything in between, flag it for the hiring manager to take a look at. And that's helped us find a couple of hidden gems that we might have otherwise overlooked, and it's really helped us to fine-tune those code challenges even more. So it's really the synthesis of these two systems that's allowed us to have a very quick and efficient recruiting process.
Thank you, Michael. So in conclusion, as you have heard Michael explain, we've been able to integrate both HackerRank and Jobvite to great success in regards to supporting fast growth and an always expanding engineering team. Jobvite allows the team to track all candidates easily, and in collaboration with HackerRank's CodeChallenges as a benchmarking and qualification tool, we have been able to greatly improve our process across the board. As I previously mentioned, it's always a challenge when hiring at scale with a lean recruiting team and limited resources, especially when there's a very high bar for talent. But by utilizing the strengths of both platforms and some of our very own tools, we've seen some pretty positive results. Since integrating Jobvite and HackerRank into our hiring process, we've seen huge increases in on-site interview to offer ratios. The overall candidate quality coming through has risen across the board. And we've also had a huge increase in the efficiency of our very lean recruiting team, where one recruiter can potentially support anywhere from 20 to 30 open engineering requisitions at one time. On top of this, we've seen a decrease in on-site interview mismatches. The cost per hire has continued to drop, and the overall time spent screening prior to on-site is the most optimized it's ever been, which has helped us stay relevant in a competitive market and keep our interview teams happy with the overall quality of candidate coming through the door. GREE International will continue to look for different ways to improve and optimize our recruiting processes, but are extremely happy with the results we have seen since integrating both Jobvite and HackerRank to create an exceptional hiring process.
Thank you so much, Trevor and Michael, for that presentation. So we do have a few questions coming into the chat box in the GoToWebinar control panel. But if there's anyone on the line who has any questions for these guys, please use that feature, and we will get to as many as we can. So the first question we have is from Brent, and he was asking about the candidate experience affected by HackerRank.
Sure, I'll take that one. Overwhelmingly, it's been very positive. We got a lot of notes. So there's a box when you complete the test where you can just give feedback to the hiring team. And we often get a lot of comments on, hey, we really love this challenge, or cool system. A lot of people have felt that taking the test through HackerRank really shows that we're committed to hiring high-quality people. They like the fact that they have to go through this challenge because it shows that we're actually paying attention to a candidate's skills, and they know that if hired here, they'll be working with people of similar high caliber. And generally, the interface and experience has been very well received by all of our candidates.
Great. And so Val had a question on how you organize the tests for different levels of positions, or for senior positions or not. How do you approach testing senior engineers differently?
Well, the quick answer is very carefully. But a lot of that has been through our in-house testing. So HackerRank, like for example, its default library of questions has some very helpful tags. It'll tag questions as easy, medium, and hard. And so we'll start there when we're using some of the stock questions. But really our best calibration has been we'll come up with a test we think is appropriate. And then if it's for a senior position, we will have 2 of our senior guys take the test and benchmark that. And then we'll do the same thing when we create a junior-facing position. We'll have 2 of our recent hires or other junior candidates take that and use it for calibration.
Great. And so we have a couple of questions coming in on just the ramp-up time for setting up these tests and everything, especially for smaller companies smaller than GREE potentially. How have you guys implemented HackerRank and the Jobvite integration? How much time and resources do you think is necessary to make it successful?
Well, as you've seen, we've obviously gone fairly deep with the API usage and technical sides, but for getting a basic HackerRank and Jobvite integration, it's actually pretty simple. Once the integration is done, Jobvite did most of the work for us for the basic hookup, and so you can be sending tests on HackerRank through Jobvite within a couple of days of contacting the companies and getting that set up. In terms of getting up and running with creating a test, particularly for a smaller shop, you can have your first test put together in maybe an hour or 2 of hiring manager time, and then just however long you want to vet the results. So for us, I'd say it took maybe an hour to put together the first test, and then we had 2 engineers spend 2 hours taking the test. So you're looking at a total time commitment of about 5 hours to get your first test out the door, with potentially a little bit more calibrating and correction, but really it's kind of a one-day operation for an individual test.
Awesome. So we're having a number of questions come in about pricing, and obviously I won't throw that to Michael or Trevor, but I just want to note that after this webinar, we are going to have someone from the HackerRank or the Jobvite team reach out to everyone that's attending the webinar today to kind of get an idea of what you need. Our pricing for Jobvite, at least, is what I'm more familiar with. It's pretty targeted and tailored to your company size, to your seats, and to your use case. So I can't even begin to give you a ballpark figure on that pricing, but you will be able to find that out as soon as this webinar is over. And along with that, if you'd like a demo, we are more than happy to do that for you. So going back to the questions though, someone asked about HackerRank's competitors, and I don't feel bad asking about this as the Jobvite rep, but what about HackerRank really appealed to you guys? What features have you really taken advantage of?
Well, for us, as I mentioned in one of the earlier slides, we did kind of this big comparison matrix. The things that really sold us on HackerRank was first, the ability to do custom questions and the fact that the interface and ability to do that was pretty well put together. That was really important to us because, as we mentioned, we evaluated a couple other big competitors. I don't know if it's kosher to throw one out by name, but I'll throw out Codility as an example. They've actually been around longer than HackerRank, at least as far as we can tell in this space. But every single question that they have is easily Googleable online, and they don't have an ability to do custom questions. And so we looked at that, and as soon as we figured that out, we just struck them off the list because we wanted to make sure that these were challenges that you couldn't just find anywhere online. We also really like the fact that it's a one-stop shop. It had the automated code challenges, it has the code pair for telephone screens, and we like the fact that it's based here in the United States, just a couple miles away from us down the road in Mountain View. And so we were able to meet with the team, have really responsive customer supports. Our account rep who helped us get on board with HackerRank in the first place was super responsive. I was probably bugging him 2 or 3 times a day during the initial setup, and he answered every single email, always within 1 business day, and usually within an hour or 2 of me sending it. And that was really kind of what sealed the deal for us, is we didn't feel we'd get that same level of support from many of these other vendors.
Perfect. I'm sure Tom appreciated that answer as well. So Zach had one question. For non-intern hires, do you send these tests to all candidates before a recruiter even reaches out for a phone screen?
I guess I can go ahead and take that one. So we've kind of set it up now that we have the test calibrated to be comfortable with the results, where for most of kind of our entry-level to mid-level positions we have hiring for, that's basically the initial stage before getting on the recruiter phone screen. But for pretty much all senior-level candidates and above, we end up doing the recruiter phone screen or some sort of phone screen before sending out the code test. But all candidates coming through the pipeline take some sort of version of the HackerRank code challenge.
Yeah, and just to elaborate on that, it kind of depends on how full the pipeline is at any given moment too. But our general philosophy has been, we don't usually have a problem getting junior applicants. There's lots of them applying, and they're also usually much more invested in, wanting to work at a game company, and they're, just easier to manage. Whereas senior candidates need a little bit more tender love and care. You kind of have to shepherd them through the process, sell. There's still definitely recruiter's discretion in all of these. It's not a hard and fast process, but so yeah, sometimes we'll reach out to them before, but if it's a very entry-level position, oftentimes we'll just send the test first.
Great. And kind of a nitty-gritty question, but it's been asked a couple of times. How much time do you guys give candidates for the actual test or for the actual questions?
So there's 2 dimensions on that. So there's the time of how long is the test. We've typically settled on about 2 hours as the optimal time frame. Some of them, we've also tried 90 minutes. We tried 2.5 hours. It varies a little bit between our different tests, but 2 hours has been kind of a happy medium because it's long enough for us to get some meaty results, but it's not too long where it's going to tire or otherwise annoy the candidates. In terms of how long do we give them to take the test, like to have it completed, basically we give them 2 weeks. We often push for them to do it much faster, and that's actually been kind of an interesting signal, like seeing how fast someone takes the test strongly correlates with how interested they are in the position. But our automation system, it actually helps keep track of it for us. So once we send off the test, we typically don't worry about it until the results come back. But if they don't take it within 2 weeks, the automation will actually kick it back and flag it in Jobvite as auto-rejecting candidate when unresponsive.
Perfect. And I know you talked about this a little bit in the presentation, but how important has the API been for you between HackerRank and Jobvite?
Well, for me personally, as the engineer who built the automation, I found it fairly important. But for smaller companies who don't have those type of resources, I would say you can get 70 to 80% of the value that we do out of the systems without the API. Jobvite on its own is a great applicant tracking system. It helps the recruiting team, it helps the hiring managers, manage just the entire process. And HackerRank has been really good for the screening specific side. So the basic integration will do a lot of what you need. For us, the automation and the APIs has just been kind of the secret sauce that lets a very small recruiting team manage a lot of requisitions up front. So hopefully that answers. If anyone has more specific questions on our usage of the APIs, I'd also be happy to chat with anyone offline if they have more questions. But it's definitely helpful to have, but you don't have to have it.
Great. And then we had one question on how has HackerRank most benefited your company from a sourcing aspect?
That is a very good question. For the most part, we've been utilizing HackerRank pretty extensively in regards to the inbound candidates. We actually haven't really utilized it from a sourcing perspective. In regards to the quality of candidates that we have coming through, it's definitely been a great filter across the board. In regard to, like Michael mentioned, general interest, just general quality, and then active interest in the company. But in regards to sourcing, I mean, we still utilize a couple of different tools, but are looking to more heavily integrate HackerRank into our sourcing efforts.
Great. And so it looks like our questions are slowly dying down. Oh, as a couple more come in. But Cheryl had a question about the recording in the slide deck, and we will be sending that out after the webinar. But if you do have any more questions, I think we have one more in this panel, and then we're going to wrap it up if anyone else doesn't throw one into the game. In terms of the dashboard, what data are you guys sending to your hiring managers versus the interview team?
What are we sending to hiring managers versus the interview team? We really don't discriminate. I mean, everyone, like recruiters and hiring managers, basically have the exact same information available to them. You know, they can all see, you know, if they're on that requisition in the dashboard, they can see everything.
I guess maybe on the recruiter side, you know, once you are moving out of a little bit more of a lean team of one into, you know, potentially 2 or 3, you know, the dashboard does allow you to focus specifically on the roles that you're supporting as opposed to every open role. But outside of that, like Michael mentioned, you know, it basically allows both hiring managers and recruiters to get great insight in a single snapshot into just the kind of status across the board for candidates in regards to specific requisitions and then just who are in the pipeline in general.
Perfect. Okay, with that, I am going to wrap everything up, and thank you very much to Michael and Trevor from GREE and Tom from HackerRank. And thank you all for joining us today. Hopefully you'll enjoy that extra 25 minutes that we saved with this quick presentation. And with that, once again, we're going to send out the recording and the slide deck to everyone there, and hope everyone has a great day. Bye.